On this edition of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast, Prairie Baseball Academy product Andrew Case announces his retirement. And we catch up with another Alberta product doing great things stateside. Matt Quartel joins us. Welcome to episode 27 of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast. I'm Joe McFarland. First off, thanks for your patience in getting this new episode downloaded. I had some important business to take care of over the weekend. Yes, a wedding, my wedding. A special shout out to my better half, Erin, for her undying support of ADS. Chances are you'll see us around a ball diamond or two over the summer. Pun intended here. She's definitely a catch. On to this week's episode. And over the last couple of weeks, a big announcement made as Andrew Case announced his retirement. The 26-year-old native of St. John, New Brunswick, has bounced around the minor leagues over the last few years. He was first discovered at the very first T12 tournament where he threw a no-hitter. That led him to signing with the Toronto Blue Jays in 2013. Here in Alberta, Case will be remembered for his time with the Prospects Academy in Edmonton and then Prairie Baseball Academy in Lethbridge. And that's where we start this week's podcast, chatting with PBA coach Todd Hubka about his reaction to Case's announcement and what he hopes his young players take away from what he accomplished. Todd, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Take us back to the first time you met Andrew Case.
That's a few years ago. Yeah, you know what? He's your typical Eastern boy, that's for sure. He's a very genuine young man that, what I got a kick out of him was just the way he talked and everything. It was, he's very East Coast and very East Coast and very personal young man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you look back on it, how was it that you managed to bring him back over to Southern Alberta of all places and have him play baseball at PBA?
Yeah, you know what? He went down to the States his freshman year and didn't like it. And, he was at the Prospects Academy his grade 12 year. And we had another couple kids from the academy up there, Corey Wood and Travis Stanky. They just mentioned that this Case kid wanted to come out to PBA. And, I really didn't know a lot about him. And from there we communicated and got it all set up for him to come here, and it all worked out in the end.
What was it like coaching him?
Very easy to coach. He's a very personable young man. I think that anyone that knows him, that has followed him throughout his PBA career, his Bulls career, with the Toronto Blue Jays throughout, through the Vancouver Canadians all the way up to AAA or whatever. Whoever meets Andrew Case knows, what a wonderful guy he is and how genuine he is and always has time to talk to people. And, and coaching, there wasn't much difference. If he had an opinion, he made sure he told you his opinion. And, he was just great to coach. I wish more kids were like that on the field to coach. He was a great kid.
Was there anything that really stood out to you in terms of his mechanics, his abilities that made you go, you know what, this kid's going to be a gamer for a while?
Well, for sure he's a gamer, and that's not hard to figure out. I mean, you play ping pong, pool, anything you play with him, and he wants to win. And, so the game part is being the gamer. I mean, those are hard to find, and he was definitely that. But, just right from day one when he got to us, it was, he knew how to throw strike one, and he got ahead of hitters all the time. And, what was holding him back a little bit was probably just his physical ability. And after he came to PBA and got on our workout program and put some good weight on, and, all of a sudden then the velocity started to go up more, and, it was just good work ethic, around the ball yard that, got him better. And yeah.
I am curious. One of the things that everybody is reminded of when he made the announcement about his retirement was his performance and no-hitter at that T12 tournament. Were you there for that, or did you hear anything about that? Tell us a little bit about that outing in particular.
Yeah, no, I wasn't there, Joe, but of course, you could watch the games online or whatever. And so, I was watching it, and I actually called up Jamie and was talking to him on the Toronto Blue Jays scout that ended up signing him. And as he was throwing, I was talking to Jamie and true story. And, and he was saying signability and stuff like that. And at the time, Andrew, did not commit to coming back to Prairie Baseball Academy for that fall, but he was working out with us. And he said, well, we could draft him in the spring. And I told him that, hey, he's not going to school right now. You can sign him if you want. And, as we were having that talk, Mr. Alomar, Roberto, walked over to him and said, sign this kid. And, Jamie said, well, I guess we know what we're doing now. So, that's kind of how it went down. And it took a few days after the tournament 12 for him to sign with the Toronto Blue Jays. But yeah, what a neat opportunity for him to go to the inaugural tournament 12 and do what he did out there and show off his skills. And without that opportunity, he would have never had that chance with the Blue Jays. So good for the Blue Jays and good for Andrew for how well he threw. So.
What's it been like watching him make his way up the ranks and continue having the success that he did have over the last few years?
You know what? It was a little surprising how well he did early and how quickly, he moved through the system and got up to Long A down in Florida and then, to New Hampshire. And, and every stop he made, he pitched to keep himself on the team. And there wasn't a lot of bad outings when Andrew, came in to close games or, through late in games. So, it was, and of course we always follow our guys close. So, you're always on box scores, the next morning or late at night, seeing how he did. And we're just, proud of him for how far he took his game and, really just a step away from, making it all the way. So, wish he would have stuck with it, but it's, that's his decision and, wish him all the best.
Speaking of that decision, any ideas or have you heard anything about what he has in store? Were you in contact with him over the last little while to kind of determine where his mindset was at? And even beyond that, what was your reaction when you heard the news?
All of us coaches here at PBA were a little surprised that he did that he did retire. But, it's his decision. He's getting, he's not young anymore. I think he's 26 years old now, so 25, 26, right in there. So, for our sake, it's disappointing, but, that's Andrew's, lived through the grind for, a lot of years of professional baseball. And it just seemed like, talking to him, he goes, I'm just stuck in Double-A and not getting the opportunity to move up anymore. And, when you're a late sign like he was, there's not a lot of money invested in him. And, he just saw younger kids come through the system that, the Blue Jays had money invested in that, he thought he was better than them, but, they pushed them on to bigger and better things. And, that's professional baseball. And, I just, from talking to him, he just felt that it was time. And, you got to respect that.
Mm-hmm. Especially given I know he's got a young family on the go as well. And at some point there comes that decision that needs to be made in terms of what the future has in store for that as well. Yeah,
absolutely. And, he was missing his family. They were back in New Brunswick, and I'm sure that had, something to do with it too. But, where his future is, we've been in contact with him, and he's contacted us that, he wants to try to stay in baseball and do some coaching. And, we're, this just all happened real quickly, and we just don't know where that, if we can help him out in any way through Prairie Baseball to, we would love him to come out here and coach. It's just a matter if we can make it work or not. So, we stay in touch all the time. So, we'll be in contact with him and trying to figure, what's best for him, and whatever we can do to help that we're here for him. So.
And you bring up a great point as well, is that he's remained active within the PBA community. And I know during your guys' luncheons and fundraisers and that kind of thing, is that he's still very heavily involved and still tries to give back to the PBA community.
Absolutely. That's what makes Andrew special is, he doesn't forget where he came from, right back down, out in the Maritimes to the prospects, to the Prairie Baseball. There was a process for him to get to where he got to, and he hasn't forgot that. And, that's what makes Andrew special is he's a great kid with a great personality, and whoever meets him or gets an opportunity to talk to him, it's easy to figure that out. So.
What kinds of lessons do you hope some of your players that you have at PBA now take away from what Andrew has gone through over the last number of years as a pro ball player and even a prospect in your own ranks?
And you know what? Like, it was the last year, he didn't come out to Lethbridge to train before the season, but before that, the couple years before that, he would come out in November and stay with us. Just about right until spring training. And it was great having him around, having a professional, pitcher with our pitchers and seeing how he, when he threw his light ups and he threw his bullpens and just the way he approached everything and, everything was in control. And it's like having an extra coach there, having him. And it was, and it showed with our pitchers too that, okay, this is how you go about doing things. And, that's why we would love to have him back too. He's very knowledgeable when it comes to pitching, and he understands it, and he understands the competitive part of it that, as we move forward in baseball, in general, that's hard to find these days, is that competitive type individual that just, every day wants to give it their all to get to the next level. And Andrew is one of those guys. So,
Todd, I do appreciate the time and looking back at the career of Andrew Case from a PBA perspective. Thanks so much for the time today.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Anytime, and love what you guys are doing in Alberta for baseball. It's wonderful following you guys through Twitter and Facebook and everything that you guys do. It's fun reading the stories on all the academies and the players, to where they're going and everything. Keep up the good work, and talk to you soon again here.
If you head over to AlbertaDugoutStories.com, Ian Wilson's been hard at work again, doing up a weekly rundown of some of the big performances by Alberta-born baseball players in American college programs. One of the guys garnering a lot of attention is Matt Quartel. The Edmonton area native is in his senior year with the Milwaukee Panthers, based at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. He's hitting .255 with 5 dingers and 24 RBIs as the Panthers remain in a tight race for top spot in the Horizon League. We caught up with the 22-year-old recently to talk about life on and off the field. Matt, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
No problem. Glad to be here.
Let's talk about from the very beginning. And how did you get into baseball in the first place?
Oh, man. I started at a super young age. I have 2 siblings, and my older brother, he played baseball growing up. So I think he's probably the reason I first started to have a love for the game. He played, and so for years I was always the bat boy for his team and spent a lot of years around baseball growing up. And then once I kind of got to the age where I could play, I played pretty much every summer from Little League all the way up to high school and now in college.
I have to laugh a little bit looking through the bio on the Milwaukee website, and it says you've got a brother who played football. And that's a question that I tend to ask a lot of guys here is, how is it that a Canadian kid, an Alberta kid, forgoes the whole notion of a hockey or football career and ends up going into baseball? What really stuck for you that made you go, this is the way I want to do things?
Well, for me, I played all the sports growing up. So I played in junior high. I was playing 5 sports, baseball, basketball, volleyball, football, and hockey. And then I kind of started to weed them out as I kind of got into high school. And so I played 4 in high school, and then there's kind of a point where I was like, all right, it's kind of time to start picking and choosing. And I don't know if there's any one moment that kind of stuck out. I was like, this is why I want to do it. But I think just showing up at the Ball Diamond every day was just something I loved a little bit more than going into the rink or, going out to a football field. And so that's, I think, kind of why I stuck with it.
What amazes me is even just going through that bio, and 2-year hockey letter winner, led his team to a Northern Alberta championship as a sophomore. I mean, you clearly were pretty good at a lot of different sports.
I don't want to necessarily say that, but I think I just was like to compete and everything. I mean, I definitely wasn't the prettiest player in every sport. Like in hockey, I would definitely kind of consider myself more of a grinder than a playmaker or anything like that. But yeah, I think I just enjoyed competing, and so kind of any chance I ever got to get out on a field or a rink or anything to play, I usually always took advantage of it.
You started out as mainly a catcher, and I know you've kind of made the transition into outfield, but what got you playing first off catcher, and then what made you kind of decide, hey, maybe I'm going to try a completely different position on the field?
I think I started playing catcher just because for me, it was just like the best position to play because you're always in the game, you're part of every play, and you're kind of just a little bit of the field general going out there. So I think I just liked the kind of the mental game behind it a little bit too, involved with pitch calling. Now kind of transitioning into college, I played behind Dalton Varsho for a couple of years, and he ended up getting drafted in the second round to the Diamondbacks. And so kind of early on in my career, I kind of realized if I wanted to play, I probably might have had to make a transition out to the outfield. So I kind of planted the bug in my coach's head, and yeah, kind of one thing led to another. I had a couple innings out there, and then my junior year, JUCO catcher came in and transferred in, and we kind of battled it out for a little bit, and he ended up kind of sticking as catcher, and I went to the outfield.
Walk us through that transition. I mean, was it difficult to go from being sort of at the front of the diamond to out in the outfield?
I think the biggest thing is just to kind of have an open ear when you kind of first make that transition because, I mean, I played maybe an inning or two in high school, but for the most part it was brand new. So I think just kind of learning from some of the older guys that had played it for a few years and just kind of following their actions as far as positioning against certain hitters and just like situational things. So it's just, I think at the beginning was just kind of being open to like listening and learning. And then the other part of it actually kind of physically fielding for this position. I think I always kind of had an innate ability to kind of track baseballs. So I don't think there was as much work required. The mental part of the game.
Mm-hmm. Take us back to your time with Prospects Academy and what that kind of taught you about yourself as a ball player.
Yeah, so I played for a year with the Prospects Academy in my senior year of high school, and I think I had worked with a lot of the coaches with like Cam and Sean and Taylor prior in St. Albert, and that was where the Prospects was kind of just the next step to try to get me to the next level. And I think Taylor Burns was a big part of kind of just opening my eyes to the potential of being able to go down to the U.S. and have like part of your schooling paid for to go play. So I think he kind of emphasized like how important strength training was and just kind of the full package of like a player when you're trying to get down to the U.S.
Was that always part of the plan, was to head down stateside and try to make your way up the depth charts that way?
I think I always wanted to. I never. I think there was a while where I never like understood like how like likely of a potential it actually would be until I think Taylor was kind of the guy because he coached me for a couple of years and he played down in the U.S. and so he was kind of the guy that really said like, yeah, if this is something you want to do, like it's definitely possible. And so he was kind of a big advocate for me in that way of saying like, yeah, if you want to do it, let's do it and let's find you a way to get down there.
Do you remember a moment where the light bulb clicked on and you went, this is something I could do for a while?
Oh, man. I don't know if there's any one moment. I think it's just kind of the summation of just playing baseball over time that you're just like, you have fun with it and you have success through your high school career. And you're like, this is like definitely something that I could see myself doing for more than just high school. And I could do it for another 4 years and hopefully longer than that if the opportunity arises. Talk
a little bit about your transition into the college ball, and especially going to a pretty good market like Milwaukee. I mean, this is no joke in terms of the level of competition that you're going into in a relatively big market like that.
I think the first thing kind of coming down to the States on your own is just kind of trying to get a footing in what you're doing. And I think the biggest thing for me was just trying to be kind of true to myself and not try to do too much. Because that was the first thing. You start playing those fall games and you realize just like how much faster the pace of play is. And when you try to match it right away, you end up kind of trying to play above your ability, and then you end up looking worse than you really are. So I think just trying to kind of stick within yourself and the things you can do was really the biggest thing that I found to kind of help me to success. Because I would definitely say I had like a little bit of a learning curve the first 2 years, just trying to stick within my own capabilities. And then kind of once I got a better footing, that's when I was able to kind of just show what I could bring to the team.
You've had a little bit of success already this year, hitting right around 300. You've got a couple of dingers and getting a little bit of social media love as well. Talk a little bit about the season thus far and what you've learned about yourself as you've made your way through this current campaign.
Oh, man. I think this year it's just been, kind of your senior year. I kind of focused more on the team this year and just trying to have fun with everything I'm doing. So I would say the social media and the home runs that come with playing is kind of just a bonus, but I think that I'm just kind of trying to go out there every day and just compete to the best I can. I'm definitely not searching for home runs or anything. And I've definitely not been a huge power guy in the past, so kind of seeing those balls go over the fence has definitely been an added bonus this year.
Did you end up changing your perspective on things? Because I know talking to different guys is, sometimes it's just a matter of, hey, I'm trying to hit for contact, and all of a sudden it's going off the bat like nobody's business. Or did you change anything heading into this year?
I don't know if there's any specific thing. I think it's just kind of understanding at bats a little bit more and just kind of knowing times when you can take a chance. It's trying to, put a little bit more on a baseball and just hunting certain pitches and certain counts. Our coach, Scott Duffick, he always talks about just, don't look for the pitch you want, look for the pitch you're going to get. And so I think having that mindset at the plate has definitely allowed me to make the most of some hitter counts.
When you look ahead to the rest of this campaign and, of course, through the summer and into the fall, what kinds of things do you have in mind in terms of what you'd like to accomplish and get done?
I think first and foremost, it's trying to win a championship with this team. We've had some good success like in our kind of outer conference schedule, and we've had a little bit of a rocky start here at the start of conference. But I think in my 4 years here, this is definitely the most complete roster we have. So I kind of said it back to my coach before the season. I was like, I think this is the team to do it. And he brought up the notion of summer ball, if I was going to try to play anywhere kind of after my senior year. But I was like, I think in my mind, the way that this season is going to go with this group of guys, I don't think there's any way I'd rather go out playing than trying to win a Horizon League championship with these guys. So that's definitely the first thing, first and foremost. And then obviously trying to win a regional and super regional and World Series from there.
That's got to be an interesting dynamic to the idea of ball, is it, especially at U.S. colleges. Here in Canada, you have your one division and that's it. Whereas here, you got to go to regionals and then you're going to state and then you're going down the line. And so how difficult is it to keep those small goals in place while also making sure that you don't keep the long distance goals in your purview?
I think the biggest thing, especially for Milwaukee, we play in the Horizon League, so it's pretty tough to get like an at-large bid just because of the strength of conference compared to some of the other power conferences that are out there. So it's definitely trying to just keep your sights set on the thing in front of you, just like this game right here. And then, we obviously down the road, you have the tournament, which is kind of what it all ends up coming down to. So it's just trying to build yourself and kind of put your team in the best position so that when it comes time to the Horizon League tournament, we all know like our roles and our jobs, and then it just comes down to in 4 or 5 games going out there and executing it.
I love asking this question of the different guys that we've talked to so far is, who serves as inspiration for you? Who do you look at and go, that's the person that drives me, whether it's in life or on the ball diamond?
Oh, man. I think for a while now, my grandpa has actually been a huge role model for me. I always see him a couple times when I go home, and I think just from a young age, he was always kind of taught me what it means to kind of be a man, and just he never, I guess, gave me any life lessons, but I just, from watching him live his life, was always just a great role model for me.
What would you like teammates to say about you once this college career wraps up?
Yeah, just always there if they needed a helping hand, and just trying to be a brother at the end of the day. I think, down the road 5-10 years, like, you want to be that guy that are like, yeah, I'm getting married and I want to make sure he's there, or, something like that, that I can reach out to them down the road and without questions asked, like they'd be there for me and I'd be there for them.
Have you looked beyond the scope of baseball to this point? I know you kind of alluded to it earlier, whether it's going to be summer ball or that, but after this ball season in college is done, have you thought about moving on, going to, I know I've talked to a few guys who said, hey, I wouldn't mind going overseas, or hey, I wouldn't mind signing a pro contract somewhere. Have you thought about that, or are you thinking, maybe a life away from baseball at some point?
I think right now, kind of on what I'm thinking is probably a life away from baseball. Right now I'm kind of working towards hopefully going to medical school back in Alberta, either at the University of Alberta or the University of Calgary. So yeah, this summer I'm going to be working on my applications for those and trying to continue my schooling in Alberta.
Very cool. It's fantastic to see you having such great success down in Milwaukee, and continued success. And here's hoping you have a long playoff run as well. Matt, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to Todd Hubka and Matt Quartel for joining us on the podcast this week. A shout out as well to all of our sponsors at AlbertaDugoutStories.com. If you or your organization is interested in becoming a sponsor for the podcast, drop us a line at AlbertaDugoutStories@gmail.com. Until next week, thanks again for listening and subscribing to Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast.